I'm back. Oh, what have we got today? Well, it's some pedal I bought about a year ago actually, but I never actually got around to reviewing it. I'm like that sometimes. You just don't always have the time available. With some of the recent reviews I've done, I've spent forever typing, responding to idiots. No, not the good ones, the less than good ones. But that's a different story. Today we're looking at the Mooer, or Mooer, it depends how you say it, the Ocean Machine, from developed, actually not from, but developed with Devin Townsend, a signature pedal it says here. Now then, I have to tell you the truth, I'd never heard of Devin Townsend before I bought the pedal. Sad, aren't I? Yeah, well, you're probably sad too, because you probably never heard of him either. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. That's just that his style of music is an acquired taste, I think. You might not think so. You might think it's fabulous. But during that style that he's developed, I'd call it almost atmospheric style, or something like that, ambient. You'll get to see it later. Well, no, you won't, because I can't do it. But later, you'll hear some of the things out of it. Whether they're good or bad is another story. This style of stuff from me is usually very bad, but don't let that put you off. We're here to see the pedal. There are millions of reviews of people playing them. So Devin Townsend is one of these guys that can do the stuff that, well, me and you can't. And he worked with Mooer to develop this pedal that suited him down to the ground. Does it suit you down to the ground? Well, that's another story, but it may do. You might find that this can inspire you to write music that you otherwise wouldn't. Anyway, enough of that for now. I'm going to get this out and we're going to take a closer look. Now, just before we get any further, I do want to tell you that at the time I bought this, it cost me about £179, and they're probably about 200 and something now. I did check on the internet. So in America, well, how much is it going to be? Probably, I don't know, $250, $260, maybe less. So let's get closer. Well, here it is, and this is a sort of first look at the Mooer Ocean Machine. As I said, the Devin Townsend developed product. Apparently, it took him years to develop this with Devin Townsend. And you know what? I can believe it. Some of the things this thing can do, you really wouldn't believe. It's an incredible little pedal, really well made as well. And speaking of really well made, I think the first thing we need to do is flip this apart and take a quick look inside, just to see the quality, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Because it's always important, isn't it? If you've got poor quality, you'll have a shorter life of the device. So I'm going to flip it round and we'll take a quick look inside. Well, here's the back of the device. I'm not sure how far we'll be able to get when we take the back off, but let's have a quick look inside. Well, not much to see there, but maybe I'll get a bit further. Notice it's got this plastic protection to stop it shorting out between the PCB and the solid metal plate. Well, as it happens, I did actually manage to get this backboard removed, and you merely undo 1, 2, 3 screws, the 5 holes across the back, and this sort of pushes into a connector at the front. Nice and easy to remove this. Now I'm going to flip it over so you can get a good look at what's going on. You can see there's a couple of chips down in that section. Nothing dynamic there, I don't think, but if there's anything I'll let you know. But when we turn this board over, it's quite obvious that this is the main section. We've got a lot of things that are sort of familiar with a lot of other products. We've got this memory down here, and we've got another analog devices Shark processor, as used by Mooer on lots of products that they make. This is a single processor unit, but bear in mind that this device was £177 or something like that. Brand new from an authorised dealer at the time. It makes it again a sort of veritable bargain. Anyway, what I'm going to do is let's zoom in a bit closer and just take a quick look at the quality that Mooer are putting out on this product. I think it's exceptionally well made. Okay, well you can see that the main processor is an Analog Devices ADSP 21489, it reads from where I am. And it uses that common name called Shark. There's a number of different versions of it, but basically it's still a Shark processor, it's still Analog Devices. And on the left here you've got this Nanuram, that's the brand of course, and this handles all the things like firmware and memory that you can store to and all that sort of stuff. Well, maybe the firmware's in that one over there, maybe. I have no information, once again, because nobody will provide it. But don't worry about that. I think the important thing is that if you look at what's going on the board and the overall quality of it, you can see further down here that this quality is nothing to be sniffed at, is it? Let's back off a little bit more. You can see the quality is nothing to be sniffed at. Well, let's move along a little bit. There we go. Once again, you'll see the everyday capacitors that everybody else uses. I'd always call them cheap because they are cheap. But you can see the sort of level of quality of all the surface mount. Yeah, and there's a lot of it. The thing is about this, that it's clearly been made on a machine. It's up to a very high standard. There's no bodges or fixes anywhere on it, not that I can see at least. I'll slide the other way. You'll see just the same thing, very high levels of quality, no ifs or buts or ahs. So I'm more than happy to look inside this and see what quality there is there. And to be honest, if you told me and not shown me the brand or anything else, I'd have been saying, well, this could have been a Roland product as far as the quality is concerned. Not so much with the Analog Devices processor, because they, Roland that is, use their own. But in any case, all very nice. I'm going to put the back on it now, and then we can go and have a look at the outside and the knobs and the I/O and all the rest. So hold on a minute. Okay, well, let's get the boring bits out of the way first of all. What I've got there is just a shot of the back and what's on the unit. Yes, you can see my serial number. And you can see that removal of the screws or serial number label will void the warranty. Well, unfortunately, under UK law, removing the serial number might, but removing the screws on the back certainly won't void any UK warranty, and that's a fact. Anyway, I wasn't here for that. I was here for showing you that the unit's got its positive, well, it's a negative inside connector for the power and positive outside, and I can tell you now that the Roland one does work very nicely. That is the power supply I used. Okay, it's a Roland device. Doesn't say Roland on it. Oh, it does on the back. So there it is. That's the one I used, and it was absolutely perfect. I used this particular type of power supply for many pedals. It's made in China. It's got the CE, the FCC, the ROSH compliance on there. No mention of anything else, of course, but that's okay. Article number TDL3, and on it goes. It's made in China, it says so, but what it doesn't say so is the address of the company that made it, and I think that on CE approvals that's what it does need. Apart from that, it's probably okay. But let's flip it over and start taking a look at what we've got. I think we'll look at the back of it first and get the I/O out the way. Okay, well, let's do that quick run through. Let's start where we mean to continue from, which is this end. It says EXP there, and that's input from external expression pedal or control switches, which we'll come to later regarding switches and controls and things like that. But anyway, that's where your expression pedal goes. All nice and simple. The next two are pretty obvious as well. You've got left mono, these are inputs, as it says there. Left mono and right, and if you're using mono you just plug it in that one. Pretty obvious. And if you're using stereo, there's your left and right in. Further along we've got the left mono out, or left and right output if you're using stereo. So it can be in stereo both on the input side and on the output side. And I can tell you, you put your headphones on through a desk or something, it can be pretty awesome. More of that later. We've also got a MIDI through. Anyway, there it is. We've got a MIDI in, which is pretty obvious. MIDI signal comes in from whatever you're controlling it with. That's where you plug it. Now lastly, we've got this DC in 9 volt, 500 milliamps, positive outside, negative inside, and the Roland one works absolutely fine. Okay, well, we've got a whole section round the front here, and what I'm going to do is just whiz along these tops first and then move down and take a quick look a bit lower down, see what's going on, because there is an awful lot going on this device, and you really need to get to grips with it if you're going to get something good out of it. Yeah, it's got presets and things like that, and you can store your own and all that stuff, but you know, the logic is if you don't really understand any of it, it could be, well, not perfect. Okay, so I'm going to start along the top here, and this top part, these first 4 knobs, you can just about see them with that white marking across there. They've got titles on, but it's a bit difficult to see with the camera, but so let me talk you through them. This whole block of 4 is the reverb parameter control. You've got a shimmer, this end one, that mixes the shimmer effect. You've got a decay, which is the length of the reverb decay. You've got a tone, which is the tonality of the reverb, and you've got an R mix, which is a reverb wet or dry mix. So that's all about reverb. Now, scarily enough, we've got the next 4. You can just about see them here. They go from there down here to this one, and that's another sort of block area. And this is what they call the delay B parameter controls. From this end, we've got, first of all, feedback B, which is delay B repeats, because you've got a number of delays. We'll come back to that in a minute. And then we've got time B, which is the delay time for the B delay. And then we've got a tone, which is the delay B tonality. And then we've got D mix B, which is the delay B level. I tend to want to call that delay 2, but I'm like that. But they call it delay B. So we've got reverb, and then we've got delay B, or you might call it delay 2. And of course, moving along, we go a bit even further. We've got another one of these white blocks. You can see it across the top, and it includes these last 4 knobs that form a particular control. The control for this is delay A parameter. So think of this maybe as delay 1, A, B. Yeah, so delay 1, it's very similar to this one, but it just controls a different delay, as it might. Feedback A is the repeats, that's this one. The time A is the delay time for delay A. The tone A is delay A tonality. And on the end we've got D mix A, which is the delay A level. So think of these 4 blocks as being the same as these 4 blocks, except these are for delay 1 and those are for delay 2, or A and B, if you prefer. How simple does it have to be? Actually, it's not simple, as we will find out. Well, next I'm going to move along these 4 knobs that are here. We might as well go down in this way, hadn't we? So this one here, this is the menu mix control. And during standard operation, you rotate this menu control to adjust the master mix of the Ocean Machine. So think of it as a master mix. But you can get at the menu with it. I'll show you later. The second one along, this one here, selects the reverb effect type. So You can see them here, there's lots of them. There's room, there's distorted verb, there's plate, there's FL plate, you can probably see them. Moving along further, we move along to this one. Well, it's already marked up as delay B. Now delay B, this selects again the type of delay for delay B. And magically, believe it or not, delay A, this knob selects the types for delay A. Now that wasn't too hard, was it? I think I'll move down to these four next. Let's keep it simple, eh? This one here, this one down here, is a back button, and you use that for stepping backwards during menu navigation. You'd probably know that. Pretty obvious when it says back on it, isn't it? I mean, even I can do that. We've got a setting button, and this is enter or exit the global settings menu, so it's all to do with the menu that's up there. The next one along, this store one, this is the store button for storing your preset. That's where you store it basically, or how you'd store it. Let me rephrase that. And on preset here, this is actually, it's a mode button. It changes the operation mode actually. Okay, well, we're getting there now. We look at these three across the bottom, and why not, I say. Hope you can see them all right from there. This first one down here, this is the reverb foot switch. What you've got is you've got a play mode, which is reverb on or off, and you can hold it down for reverb frozen feedback effect, which we'll get to here. It's got a patch mode, so in the patch mode it's tap tempo, and we've got a looper, and this is record, play and stop. Well, you can see them there. Tap, reverb, record, play, stop. So they are there. They're not sort of well hidden away so you couldn't ever know where they were, type of thing. You've seen them, haven't you? And there's tap in the middle. When you're in play mode, simultaneously depress the reverb and the delay. That's these two. Delay B, that is. The foot switches and enter the tap tempo. Then you can use the reverb foot switch for master tap tempo, or delay A/delay B foot switch for their corresponding tap tempos. It will all become clear, maybe later, or not. It doesn't really matter that much. On this center one, this is a delay B foot switch. And if you think about it, it's below delay B, which adds up really, doesn't it? It's got a number of modes. It's got a play mode, which is delay B on and off. And you hold for delay B feedback effect, pretty much like the other one. It's got a patch mode, previous preset, and it's got a looper, half speed on and off. So all very nice, all very interesting. Notice down there it says looper. Simultaneously depress these two, delay A and delay B, and that's how you get to the looper. So you can tap with these two and you can looper with these two. And this end one here, this is the delay A foot switch, pretty much like this thing. It's got a play mode, it's delay A on and off, and you can hold the delay A feedback, delay A button in for a feedback effect. It's also a patch mode, which is the next, and that's the previous, if you get me. And it's also the looper reverse on and off. So you can reverse the looper, which is a bit weird. These guys that do this stuff all the time love this sort of, it's an ambient soundscape. That's what these guys love. And Mr. Townsend, make no mistake, is a master at it. Yeah, he really is. Anyway, that's the top. We've got a screen here, of course, which we'll be looking at presently. But that's the hardware. It's really well made, by the way. It's all metal and it weighs a ton. And I think that's a good thing. Now then, here he is turned on and we're taking a quick look at it. I'm not going to spend all day trying to explain all of this stuff because it's not easy to get your head around. Well, it is, but it isn't. It's great if you're great at maths. That's what I'll tell you. Anyway, the Ocean Machine, it's got two main operating modes that allow the device to be used in different ways. First of all, there's the play mode, which is what we're in at the moment. And the play mode, the Ocean Machine operates like a traditional effects pedal. Every basic effects parameter value is the same as that of its corresponding control knob. So whatever it says on the knob, is whatever it is. Yeah, that adds up. And then you've got the patch mode. Now to get to the patch mode, you just basically press the preset like that. And there's patch 7B, but that's okay, it doesn't really matter which one it is for now. In this mode, the Ocean Machine recalls saved presets, and all basic effect parameter values will be the same as the recalled preset until adjusted via their corresponding control knob. What it means is, when you pull this patch in, whatever's in that patch, these knobs, irrespective of where that little arrow is there, will be actually set to what was in that parameter, in that preset that was stored. There's a few things like this on the market. I've seen amps like that where you recall a preset and of course the knobs don't move, but the actual value is different. Hughes and Kettner was one of them, I think. Yeah, Hughes and Kettner Grandmeister. That was an interesting thing. And the second you touch that and turn it, well, you have to turn it. The second you do, that's the new parameter. So let's run through some of the play mode first. Yeah, I know it's a bit boring, but it isn't actually boring for anybody that's bought one of these or is going to buy one. So always remember that, guys. You can all be experts, but I can tell you now, when you first plug this in, you won't be an expert. You'll be as, well, you know as much as I do, which is nothing. Anyway, play mode. The Ocean Machine boots directly to play mode by default when powered on. In this mode, the Ocean Machine will operate like a traditional stomp box. Now, we all know what them are. All basic effect parameters are depicted directly by the values of the physical knobs. So when you come up in this mode, these are actually the values of where that little arrow is pointing. That's important. Now, the foot switch and its control functions, yeah, you've got a few along here. Let's start from there again. Depressing any of these foot switches once will turn on or turn off its respective effect. As you might well imagine, it's what we're all used to. Holding down any of these foot switches while its respective effect is turned on will put the effect into a state of infinite feedback until the foot switch is released. Now you can imagine playing a chord and then holding that down, can't you? We've got a tap tempo, which is there. Simultaneously depress the reverb and delay B foot switches to access the tap tempo control. You'll then have a few seconds to tap your desired tempo. Reverb foot switch equals master tap tempo, delay B foot switch is delay B tempo, and delay A foot switch is delay A tempo. A, B, you can see them, pretty obvious. Auto subdivision values can be set for each delay separately in the menu screen, so you can come up in here and mess around until your heart's content. Now the effect parameters, really all of the basic effect parameters can be adjusted directly using their respective control knobs. You can see them, they're all over the place. More effect parameters, tempo subdivisions, ping-ponging effects, effects chain, and more can all be edited and adjusted within the menu screen. And you can mark my words, there is a lot of adjustments that you could make. Now I did want to come in a bit closer so I can just show you a little bit of this, this menu screen that's ticking around. Menu screen allows access to deeper editing options basically. To access the menu screen options, press the menu control knob once. Yeah, so this is the menu screen, and you can see there's a number of blocks. You can see them across there. It's currently selecting delay A, but if we was to turn this, we can go to B, or reverb, or looper, or so on and so forth. I'm sure there are lots of parameters to mess with. But let's just break it down a little bit of what you've got in front of you. We've got at the top here, delay B a time, and delay A a time. Now moving to this section, this is basically this is the effects chain. Yeah, just as you might imagine it. Obviously it hasn't got 50 blocks on it, but it's like everything else, you only get what you're given. Anyway, this displays the order of these effects and the current state of each effect. Yeah, so the effects block, each effect has its own effect block, if you get me. Which displays the effect type, the status and the position in the effects chain. Some effect types, such as mod verb, have additional parameters which can be edited by accessing the effect block. Highlight and enter the effect block using the menu control, and the effect block parameters will be displayed. So if I want to highlight Reverb B, and I hit that, that's Reverb B. It says up there, currently set to plate, and it's all there to carry on with. I can always hop back to where I was with the back button. All very simple. Now further down, we're still in this overall block menu right now. Along here we've got delay tempo B and delay tempo A and a ping pong, so they're all there. You can highlight and access to edit the delay relative tempo values and status using the menu control. So we can sort of carry on along. You can see I'm on that one now. That's red. I didn't think them looked red. Maybe my eyes are going funny, but when I get to that one, that's red. And if I was to hit that, that's the parameter for that particular thing. And like most good effect blocks, you can actually move them around, and you wouldn't think so on a product like this, but it's a little bit awkward because what you have to do is press this, highlight the one you want. Let's go to that one. I want to move that one to there, say. Well, what you do is you press it down and move it. And press it down and you can move it back as it was. So just a simple example. Now what I also want to show you is quickly a tempo subdivision. So if we move along here and we move along to maybe the delay tempo, this one, that'll do. We can turn the subdivision on or off like this, and when we turn it on we've got various parameters we can change. I'm not going to bore you with them for now because there's a lot to go through, but you get the idea, don't you? Now I could spend a long time faffing around with this menu and everybody would get bored. Well, you're probably bored by now, but like I said earlier, if you're interested in this device, this will be interesting to you. Okay, let's move on a little bit onto the effect types, the reverb effect types. Well, this is the reverb knob or selection knob, and you can see around the edge there the various reverbs available. Let me just read them to you. You've got room, hall, plate, distortion verb, FL verb, which is a modulated flanger. You've got a filter, which is a reverb with a modulated envelope follower. You've got reverse, which is a backwards reverb, which is how mine normally turn out. You've got a spring based on a vintage large tank spring reverb. Very nice, that one is. And you've got one called mod, which is a reverb with a modulated chorus. Yeah. Now on delay B, moving over here, you can just about see that. Here we've got, first of all, digital, which is high fidelity delay with clean repeats. We've got analog, vintage BB style delay with warm degrading repeats. Tape, based on a classic reel-to-reel tape. We've got real, clear delay with natural sounding repeats. We've got dynamic delay, which is dyna. We've got galaxy, which is a delay with swelled repeats and a light modulation. We've got mod, which is delay with modulated repeats. We've got tri-mod, which is an 80s style delay with thick modulated repeats. And we've got mod inv, which is a reverse delay with modulation. So there's a massive selection of types of delay there. Now strangely, when we get to delay A, it is actually different than delay B. Yeah, not by huge amounts really, but yeah, here we go. On delay A, we've got digital, which is high fidelity delay with clean repeats. We've got an analog, which is the vintage BB style delay we had on the other one. We've got tape, which is the same. We've got echo, based on a vintage echo rec, and that's different. We've got liquid, which is a digital delay with modulated phaser repeats. That's different. We've got rainbow, which is special effect pitch delay with modulation. That's different. We've got crystal, which is a special effect pitch delay with glistening highs. That's different. We've got low bit, which is a delay with bit crusher. And lastly, we've got fuzzy, which is a delay with fuzz. So there's quite a substantial number of these on this delay A that are not on delay B, and for very good reason. You know, just a short note on the expression pedal. An external expression pedal can be used, as we showed you, to control the various parameters of the Ocean Machine. Now, when you connect the expression pedal to the EXP input, it needs a TRS stereo jack cable, by the way. But you can select parameters which the expression pedal controls on the expression page inside the settings menu, just for your information. Now, the Ocean Machine does come with a looper, as you can see down there. Well, hopefully you can see it. I can. You may just see it. It comes with a looper which is up to 44 seconds of recording time, overdubbing, independent level control and full featured half speed and reverse effects. To access the looper, simultaneously depress delay A and B, like so. And there's your looper. Let's have a quick look at the screen. We've got a looper level. We've got the track playback time. We've got a playback bar, which would be in progress. We've got record, dub, play or stop status. We've got reverse off, half speed off or on, either of them. And that's about it for in there. Yeah, pretty boring really if you ask me, but I'm not a looper user, so yeah, might be great to you. Now, I have covered a lot of this stuff earlier on the pedals. We've got this is when you're in the looper aspect of things. We've got record, play, dub, double tap it for a stop and hold it for clearing everything out. The next one is this half speed one. This half speed button is just on or off at half speed. And next we've got the reverse one here that looks after reverse sound really, reverse on or off. It's available after recording the first loop, by the way. So you couldn't reverse something that's not recorded. Well, you couldn't, could you? And this menu button also plays a role. One on the looper screen, which isn't this one, it was the other one. Rotating the menu control adjusts the playback level. So just bear that in mind. You can go back and forth between the looper and your current operation screen while the looper is in operation by simultaneously pressing delay B and delay A, which is what I actually did to get back here. So the looper's still in the background and it would be running if you set it running. Now, I do want to cover the settings menu a little bit because it's got various global settings that really can be very useful. Now what we do, we press a settings button which enters the settings menu, and there it is. Okay, you can see that this one's selected with its little red bit, and we can whip around these parameters just simply with this menu button over here. If you press it, we can access parameter screen. So that's on wireless, so if I was to press that, this relates to wireless. I'm not going to bore you with wireless, by the way, or any of these other parameters particularly. Having said that, there is a thing called an air switch. Now, the air switch is a wirelessly connected external switch that I'm going to show you one presently, and this is basically where you'd set it up and where you'd set up the parameters for those particular 4 switches on the air switch. Enough said about that. It's just yet another parameter to play with. These are some of the parameters that you can control with the expression switch, or the expression pedal, should I say. You can see they're very, very extensive. I'm not going to spend time on them because, well, it could be forever. Now, one of the things you can do, the tone controls on the Ocean Machine's delay and the reverb effect blocks can independently be set up as high pass or as low pass filters. And what you do is just up to where it says tone, click the button, and off you go with changing parameters. I'm not going to do it, but I just wanted to show it. And you can notice I've highlighted merge here. What that's about, with merge activated, trails of the delays and reverbs will blend into each other when the effect type or preset is changed. You can press the menu control, this menu control here, just to turn it on or off. And for anybody using MIDI, which you might well on this, there's a little MIDI section there, and we can change a pile of parameters. We can do the MIDI mapping and the rest of it. It contains a full contents table of its MIDI mapping, so you don't need to carry a manual with it for programming MIDI control, and that could be very important if you're at a gig or something and you got something wrong. Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? The Ocean Machine operates on MIDI channel 1, by the way. It can receive MIDI signals but can't transmit them. Press the menu control for all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go through it. Notice here you've got a trails button. With the trail activated, the Ocean Machine operates in buffered bypass mode, and the trails and delays and reverbs will continue to finish after the effect is bypassed. You know, like when you change to another channel or something like that, another tone, those original effects will trail off very nicely. With the trail deactivated, the Ocean Machine operates as it really should in a true bypass mode, and the trails, the delays and reverbs will terminate as soon as you switch it. Yeah, it's just a question of off or on. For this bit here, you can control the global input and output levels. Very simple. There's another bit here. I'm not going to bore you with it too much, but we've got a global EQ that can be affected on different things. Moving down to reset, it's pretty obvious what that does. And I can tell you now, when you've screwed everything up and you've made all the presets sound terrible, which you might, this is where you come. Yeah, you press that and it'll all come back to factory default and be nice as not, just like new, in fact. So we can all start again, can't we? And without going into any great depths, do remember that you can store your preset as necessary inside the unit for later consumption. Lastly, without spending any time on this, you can actually update the firmware. You do it via MIDI, download the basic firmware, connect the MIDI, and you can flash it into this unit that way. That's the easy way of doing things, and yeah, not much more you can say. Okay then, well, that's a bit of a run through of the pedal. I mean, it looks particularly complex, but it does have a load of presets in there. I think there's 8 banks of 3 or 4, something like that. You've got something to go at right from the off, so that's a good thing, because to be honest, if you was doing this from absolutely nothing, well, I'm sure you could get there one way or another, but it might be a bit hard. Just before we move away from the hardware itself, here's the other little device. This is called an air switch. Now, it doesn't come with this, by the way, I have to say that. But it wasn't that expensive. I think it was £40 or something like that. Which isn't really too bad for a wirelessly connected floor pedal. This can run, as you can see, from a Duracell. A Duracell battery, which absolutely makes it run forever. It's got all the CE and FCC and ROS compliance on the back. Tells you how to pair it. I won't go too close and bore you with it, but it's all there. Yeah, you can see it move and change from there. We're switching on and off. Delay B to tape, delay A to liquid, reverb to reverse, looper off, and I'm flipping them back. So, relatively easy to program. I just haven't been to it for a while. You know how it goes sometimes. Great little pedal. Very throw aroundable. And it's, I think it is plastic on the outside, but the back cover's metal. I'm not going to pull it apart because for its cost, I think it's awesome. Just believe me on that. If you want to know more about Devin Townsend, by the way, there's a little bit on the back here. It says the Devin Townsend Project. DevinTownsend.com. Yeah, and you should go and watch him and then be in awe of how he can get it out of that thing, because, well, I don't know how he does it, but he's a very clever guy. Great musician, I must add. I can't do it, but that doesn't stop me having a go, does it? You neither. Now, one thing I do recommend, as always, is that you print out the manual. This thing's only about 25 pages long, but it does have a load of MIDI stuff in the back that might prove to be useful. Well, it will if you ever can do any MIDI stuff with it. I always do that, and I think it's a good thing. Now, there's no mention of warranty anywhere, and I think these come with probably a 1-year warranty. I couldn't find anything, but I had a similar problem on the GE300 with the warranties and things, and it's just how it is. You've got at least 1 year's warranty, but in the UK you've got Up to 6 years warranty, typically on most products, not just these things, everything. They'll knock your money off for wear and tear and stuff like that, but you still have the warranty, contrary to what anybody says. Just a piece of information. Okay, let's have a quick summing up about this before we go in the studio and you hear it. And remember, I'll tell you here and now, I'm no expert on this pedal. Neither are you. Well, don't worry, we're both in the same camp then. But if you are an expert, I've spoken to some experts about this stuff. And yeah, the one I know was a pro musician and probably still is. Extremely good at what he did. And he was a guitarist in It Bites. Yeah, very, very clever man. And one of the things he talked about, actually to my bass guy, not to me, he was telling Alan about how he set these different delays up to interact and all this sort of stuff. I suppose he's like a Devin Townsend in some ways. But they calculate these parameters and to interfere in a particular way. And the result can be honestly astounding. It can be an awesome result. This thing's got so many things in it that if you think about it, you can get the looper going. Then you can come out the looper and you can play these other parameters off against themselves. It all becomes an incredible device for not a lot of money. And some companies, you know, you can see some pedals out there costing £400 or £500. To be honest, don't do what this thing can do. It's actually that good. I'm not the man to demo it, but I'll try. And always remember that this thing here is worth its weight in gold, because when you've got that, you can be changing almost any parameter with this. So it's like having 4 more pedals, or 4 more controllers, should I say. Massive and brilliant. A Chinese product, they are these days. It's exceptional quality. It's an exceptional price as well, of, like I said, about £177 I paid, whatever the list was. And I think they're kicking around online now for £220 or an equivalent in dollars, somewhere there. So it's got the pricing right, it's got the quality right. The warranty's a sort of standard warranty. I don't think you can get very far with that. It's got all the approvals and all the rest of it pretty much sewn up, as a lot of them are that are actually built in China, where this one is actually built, and they go and spend the money on the approvals. It's got this advantage of this wireless pedal, and it's wireless. There's none of this faffing around. It's quite amazing. For a few pounds, really, relatively speaking, it's cheap. That's the only word you can use, but it's not cheap and junk. It's cheap but good. It takes you through, when you get to hear it, all these different sounds that probably Devin Townsend programmed into it, and they sound awesome. If you put your headphones on and the rest of it, you'll be knocked out. Honestly, you'll be knocked out. It's worth trying, even if you don't buy one. It's that good. I wish I was better at it, but I'm not. What don't I like? To be honest, there's very little I don't like about this product. I would have liked to seen maybe a 2-year warranty on it, even if it was a tenner dearer or something like that, you know, a little bit more expensive, maybe a better warranty. I'd have also liked to see a better manual than the sort of 23 pages that it is, because you could argue, well, you just do this and you just do that, but like the man from It Bites, those sort of people, the Devin Townsend and those sort of people of this world are at another level. And they do it for a living. I don't. You probably don't. You might do it part-time now down the boozer, down the local pub. But that's not quite the same. And I'd like to see in the manual a better explanation of how those guys do the calculations. Maybe, I don't know, Devin didn't have the time to do it. I don't know. But that's the pluses and minuses. Well, what about the score? Well, it's a 10 out of 10. I can't find anything wrong with it. I've looked hard. You know, I've looked inside, I've looked outside, I've looked at the Nearest I could get was a manual that could do with a few extra pages, and that's about it. I love the switch, the air switch. It's all good, right? And as far as I'm concerned, it's a 10 out of 10. And I think the GE300 was an 8 or a 9 out of 10. It could have been a 10 out of 10. Although that had got a few funnies on it. Things like the text on this blue and the rest of it. It's all perfect. It's all great. Yeah. Yeah, so that's the score. A 10 out of 10. What more could you ask for? So that's the summing up of the Mooer Devin Townsend Ocean Machine. And by the way, you do get this included. There he is holding it. Yeah. It's not much more I can say. We're going to go outside, of course, and have a listen to it. Don't judge it by how bad I am. You've been warned before I get there. I'm more of a rock player than a ambience player. But that's life. Yeah, I'll do my best. That's all I can do. So that's it for now. Like I said earlier, if you want to find out more about this, you can go to devintownsend.com. I'm sure he's got a section on it. Or you can go to the Mooer website, which is down in the text. If you want to know anything about this thing that I know, it's all down in the text. Links to the manual and all that sort of stuff, and you know what I mean. I don't always mention it so much in the video, but it's always down in the text. Anybody who watches my videos, get down in that text. It's all there. Don't forget to visit www.tonymackenzie.com. It's got loads of reviews on that I never really did quite the same on YouTube and the rest of it. Although these are on YouTube. On my website, I don't get the pillocks that I can get on YouTube. You know, the people that tell me something that could have almost been on fire is okay. It's not. It never has been, never will be. And if they're that stupid, well, you know, there's no help for them, is there? Anyway, that's it for now. I hope you like the new sound, the new camera. I've even got my face a bit lighter, haven't I? Yeah, I think I have. And that's it until next time. It's been quite a nice one to do this one as, irrespective of how I make it sound. Now get out of here. I'll see you next time. Well, here we are in the studio. I've got my trusty self-made Strat out of Warmouth parts and some other parts and things like that. And on demo, if you can see it there, is the Ocean Machine. Now look, I'm no expert in ocean machines, so you're not going to get anything out of me that's remotely like music. But then again, with a device like this, you might call it music, you might not. Devin Townsend does a great job of it, but unfortunately I won't be. Yeah, the last guy that tried it in ears, just over my shoulder on that speaker. So enough of him. So I'm going to do a few, just a few twiddlings around, you know, to get the atmospheric, so you get a bit of an idea of what it's like if you plug it in. I've got the pedal down on the floor. I've got this here. I've got no amp involved because, well, to be honest, I don't even think you need an amp to be involved, unless you want to overdub with some lead guitar later, which could be the thing, or not. Well, anyway, here goes. Now don't laugh. Well, there you are. Well, like I said, I'm not that very good at this stuff, particularly this sort of ambient stuff. It's not me, never has been. But you should get some idea of some of the just regular presets in that thing over there. Yeah, you might find it's effective for maybe parts of a track, or even whole tracks, or even whole albums if yeah, the man who invented it has got anything to do with it. There's not much more I can say about that, except this. If you want to see this in better action than I can ever do it justice, go and have a look on YouTube, because there's quite a lot of different ones. And don't forget, look down in the text, because there is a whole section of Devin Townsend playing this for about 35 minutes. It's got a link down there, so don't forget to go and look at that, because he's a bit better than me. Now get out of here.